Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious. You can join us in broadening our minds on the Nameless Debates Discord via the link below, and even feature here yourself, if you've got what it takes.
All right, am I in here?
Hear you.
Yeah, we have one left, one awaiting.
Let's see. Matt, any way you can drag him over here?
No, not really. It has to be in one of these voice channels for me to drag.
Okay, let me see.
You should just be able to follow the link, though.
And all I did was click on it. Send me
Nice.
right over. Seamless. It's interesting that the technology, as it improves its potential to connect us, it also seems to our, first of all, expectation of technology to work in a way that is intuitive to us, while simultaneously, so it has the potential, the equal potential to frustrate us because we've become like spoiled with it, And
Well, there's maybe like is it reading our mind too closely to where we're like, wait, I didn't expect you to be that accurate.
sometimes it feels that way, I think.
Right. This is getting way too easy.
And sometimes it's like the opposite, though. Sometimes it's like I have this need, and I can figure out how to meet that need through technology, and it's just not there. Whether it's possible or even actual in some very prototype form, where just like even the original computers must cost way too much money for somebody to afford, never mind the space that it took up, and just how technology has figured out how to swap out parts and find better conductors and so on to make one that fits in our pockets now.
Yeah, so, do more with less.
Right. And so it's an interesting trajectory that I find with a lot of even ideas. Like sometimes you come up with these prototypes. Like imagine even if like the dinosaurs were prototypes. Like if you were to create this being that you wanted to survive on the earth, toil in the earth, you would have this like massive, sharp toothed, like just killing machine, right? I mean, that like I think of it like picking a I don't play video games, but I used to have this game where you could pick the action figure, I guess, that you're using as a video game, like the character. And like you could pick this like really burly dude that like he was tough and he was strong, but he was slow. And then you could pick this other dude that was really fast, but like
nimble and
and like
not as strong, but had other advantages.
Right. So you could pick from like 3 or 4 different characters, and they each had their own attributes, and they all equaled to a certain degree, but yet they were, emphasized and de-emphasized according to their, archetype or stereotype at least. And so we all kind of have that, have those strengths and weaknesses that we try to, fill in the gaps of others. And that's a big part of what I try to do is, how can we fill in each other's gaps to build a whole, and of course the illusion is that it's not whole already. And I believe that our sensation of isolation is a result of an obscuration. And so wholeness always exists, but we have the appearance of this fragmented reality, that
separation.
And every time we make a distinction, we are saying this is on one side and this is on the other side. And so these are like the boundaries, where we draw those boundaries. And in the ideal world, there are no boundaries. And that's, I think, absolute, but as we zoom in and lower the altitude, we start recognizing there's infinite, distinctions to be made. There's statistics being just waiting to be analyzed everywhere. Everything has a weight, everything has a size, everything has a quality to it that is just waiting for some computer, including the brain, to pick up on it and then measure it, analyze it, and put it to use, whether for good or evil, or you can fill in whatever moral or objectively good or bad terms you'd like to use. But that's just where we're at. And
yeah,
so
some dichotomy of options with the what we could call like the data sets that are pre-existing our observation of their holistic completeness, awaiting our separate calculus or something like that.
And I think that's so. I think that there's this process of individuation, and that is a descension into the world of forms in which everything is distinguished. I mean, from one, I think I've used the example with you before, maybe not, but of like you look at a car and you can see one car or one human body, but you zoom in and then you have specialists. So you have like a mechanic or let's zoom out a little bit. So then you have like someone like me who I can tell you the most brands and most models and maybe a little bit about the wheels and stuff. But then you have a mechanic and he can tell you how to make one. And then you get engineers that are design the cars and they can tell you how to design one. And so everyone has their levels of specificity, specification, and skill regarding that. But so, just because we're at different levels doesn't make it's still one car, and it's still, so there's still one piece, one unit being a car. That unit is an aggregate of thousands of tiny pieces, and as far as you zoom in, the human body is the same way. You look at it on a molecular level, you can look at it as the nervous system, you can look at it as, bones. I think we have like 273 bones or something like that, but you have one body, and you have, all the, organs. And so there's numbers that add up to something, right? To add up to a whole. And so if you take all of the numbers representing a thing in the universe, you end up with one. And so this is what I was talking with Matt about a little bit on my, I guess, cosmogony or metaphysics, where the universe is zero. Nothing is one thing that equals everything divided into infinite pieces.
Like that's the part where I think what you're saying about nothing sounds like what you're saying. It sounds like you're talking about everything.
Is nothing,
or the potential for everything.
Everything is nothing, and that's and that's exactly it. So there's nothing. It starts as nothing, and that nothing is absolute potential, meaning the potential for everything to exist. And then as the Big Bang, whether it was the first Big Bang or not, whatever you want to call that, immaculate conception is a metaphor for the Big Bang. Virgin birth. How can you have virgin birth unless that virgin is hermaphroditic? How can it be hermaphroditic if it's it's two, male and female, which has the ability to propagate its species or its like kind, and that's the universe fucking itself into reality. And and so it's a process of division rather than addition, because you can't add upon wholeness. You cannot add upon the absolute. You can fill in potential with form, and that is a process of manifestation. And so there's this process of descension towards individuality. So that's the process of making all the distinctions necessary until you reach this point of consciousness that recognizes the unity of existence. You recognize the sun through the clouds, and then you work on a process of ascension toward achieving that unity that is now manifested. So the completion of nothingness is manifestation of everything.
And are you speaking like metaphorically or in like?
The best metaphors are literal. And
Okay.
so this is at least metaphorical.
Okay.
These are all, I'm still understanding this from my limited perception, so
For sure, yeah.
it has to be metaphorical, at least on some level. And the best metaphors are also literal. You know what I mean? We're actually
That
making.
they'll transpose
That's right.
something into the literal.
And
I've always had a little bit of I think a minor pet peeve about the word literal, just because it, to my mind, denotes literary or of literature, which to me seems like a type of written way of looking at things.
Right.
But
so we can talk about it like technical, or you can talk about it practical, or real. Real,
actual.
Right, actual. We like to denote in the same way that we categorize the world. We talk about the world, and sometimes when we say that, we're talking about the universe, and sometimes we're talking about the planet Earth, and it kind of is a flexible boundary to relate to everything contained within. And then so we even talk about my world and your world, and we're talking about the boundary of what we are, the realm of what we're talking about. I guess it's not as clear, it's not as communicable as it could be, but I think the point is that oftentimes it's not necessary to be that specific, right?
Gotcha.
Just,
okay.
In general. But I think the goal in this kind of talk with this kind of people is to try to get there, to try to be as specific as we can.
There we are.
To
we got Joshua, finally.
We got him in? Nice.
In order to make the unreal real, right? And so to enable that process of manifestation, and so that we are completing the work of the universe and manifesting itself.
It's an interesting take, man, and I like that you have like a what I would almost call like a catch-all bucket or an omni bucket that it seems like you use it for multiple purposes. It's a multi-tool.
That's one of the fundamental cosigns of being universal, right? Is that it would apply to different it's scalable. It's true on a individual level, it's true on a collective level, it's true on a universal level. I mean, I think that's what it would have to be in order to be real, in order to be true, right? And, true in a transcendent sense, right? You can be true in an aesthetic sense and in a very limited sense. It can be true, like that's what I call a fact, right? A fact is something that always existed in the past because it already existed, and so it doesn't include, and therefore dynamic. It's not dynamic in the way that we discussed how I use the term, where it's a change, but it's a change with a twist, with a dynamic. I don't like to use the word definition here, but it's a change that like adds towards progress, contributes to the progress of unity, and so the progress there is taking two unrelated things and then finding the relation, and that relation should be consistent throughout the different levels and scopes and altitudes of perception.
Yeah, ways of analyzing it.
Right.
Hello?
Right.
Hello?
Yeah, you there? You there, Josh?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
Okay.
We got you back.
You got me back.
Yeah.
That was difficult.
I know. Sorry about that, dude. It's sometimes too easy to explain and then too difficult to point directly.
It's like the finger pointing at the moon.
That interface was not that helpful, and I don't know what was going on with me accepting the terms of service. I think there was some problem there, but
Oh, dude, there might have been that too.
Yeah, no, it's just I think maybe what happened is you might have pressed it twice to begin with.
yeah. When you pointed it out that the number had to go up, that was the key. Then, I would hit it thinking it was something that would bring me to another state, not that it was.
Okay. Yeah, no.
So maybe I was a little too antsy with the. Wait, what's going on here? So I'm clicking buttons.
Yeah, man.
Those crazy monkeys with our buttons.
Oh, I love that scene from Zoolander. Have you seen that?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I had in
They're
mind.
trying to extract files from the computer, and they're like, oh, that's good.
Classic.
Yep.
So,
all right. So
yeah, Matt.
I was a bit distracted, honestly. Unfortunately, I was trying to get our mate here into the room. So what you should do for me is you should try to run through what you were just talking about again, if that's okay.
I'm gonna decline. No.
The other thing too, like, because we were riffing on synchronicity before you got in, and then that kind of segued to what Brendan was talking about.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.